Please let's try as much as possible to stay muted and also to keep our cameras off so that we don't distract other people. By doing that, there will be opportunities for clarification at the end of each process as we go along. But if we try to keep it to the minimum, that would be good also, because then we would be able to cover everything we have within the time that we've been given. That's okay. If you have any questions, just either note them down or just pop them in the chat box. And then when we finish, I'll be able to pick up on that and then answer any of the questions that might be there. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Sorry, if I'm echoing, please let me know. Okay, so like we said, tonight is going to be about the Azure DevOps Board, how you set it up, what is it, and what you need to do, who does what, who takes accountability for doing what, who is responsible for doing what on the Azure DevOps Board. Okay, right, so I put it on 5 minutes. Okay, so for this, like I said, we need to know what a project board is. What is the purpose of the project board? What do you use it for? What is Azure DevOps itself that we're talking about? And then we'll go into the practical aspect of actually setting up a board so that we'll see how it is done. So a project board is just the centralized resources. Project boards are just centralized resources that provide visual and transparency for the team's workflow and increases the effectiveness of managing the work. So it's a collaborative tool, or the collaborative tools, because you have different ones. Azure DevOps just one from Microsoft. You have Jira Board also from another vendor or another provider, and then you have Slack. So they're all just collaborative tools that the team uses to give visibility of what you're doing and also transparency, especially in this time of remote working, in this time of hybrid working, where some people at times you work from home, you're not in the office and all that. The project board is a place where we can call it a work management tool, where all the works you're carrying out or the team is carrying out is being visualized. You're able to see it. It's recorded there. You have the history there to see what is being done on it. So the purpose for it really is just for the team to be able to interact on what they need to do. And then to plan, they're able to interact, to plan, to track work, to review what has been put on the board, and then to manage their projects in order for them to achieve the goals that they've, put in to do within the timeline. So we want to look at what is Azure DevOps. Like I said earlier on, it's a cloud computing platform. So it's cloud-based, and it's a website that can be accessed throughout the world because it's cloud-based, and you can access it through a web browser, and it provides you with some set integrated features that can be used for the planning that I talked about, the development and maintaining the software development cycle, really, that needed to be done. And like I said earlier on, it is provided by Microsoft. It's owned by Microsoft, and you can access it from anywhere in the world because it's cloud-based. And then it provides the opportunity for the team to be able to work together. So I might be a team member in India, another member might be in Nigeria, another member might be in Australia. They are all able to access the project board, and they are able to work together. Yeah, the time difference might come in, or maybe if there's anything I need to do, I'm based in Nigeria, I'm a developer, I've developed what I need to do, and the QA needs to pick it up and all that. If I do my bit and all that, which you will see later on, the QA who is in maybe Australia is able to pick it up and then do what they need to do. You saw what happened during the demo last night. For those that were there, we all that did the demo for you were not based in the same locale. In the same locale, meaning that we might be in the UK, but we're not all, in the same under the same roof, if I can put it that way, and we're still able to do what we needed to do. I think there's even one of us that is based in Nigeria, and you can see that we were still able to do what we needed to do. Your team member comes together. There's something called a team charter where you agree on the times that those meetings needs to happen and all that, which you would go through. I think Naomi must have mentioned some of them when she took you on the Scrum ceremonies and all that. But all this helps you to collaborate and to work together, to know what is going on, to have that visibility and the transparency of what is going on within the team. And the meetings that you can see that we had yesterday, we were able to use the project board to know what needs to be done next, to collaborate together, to plan better in order for us for the work to be seamless as much as possible. Okay, so that's what you use the project board for. And the one we're using basically is Azure DevOps. And like I said, it's from Microsoft and it's cloud based. Okay, so those are the main thing that we need to know about that. So in the course of this session tonight, these are some of the practical things we're going to do. We're going to create a project board. We're going to invite members to the board. We're going to create what we call an inherited process. I'll tell you what that is when we get there. We're going to change the team process to the created inherited process. We're going to have a dashboard setting, just to configure the board so that it's suited for the team to work with. And each of these bullet points are the things that we're going to try and set up on that board. Okay, so that it's ready, like I said, for the team to use it, to work on it. Okay, so before we go into that quickly, I just want to say that, let's assume that when you join an organization, as you have joined BlueSky Citadel, when you join any organization, you are added as a user in that organization. So the first time you go in, you will have to go to see the HR. There are some things they will give you. They will take your picture. They will make an ID card for you, which you'll be able to access the building with. You'll be taken to your department, and all those things and everything. When it comes to digital also, just as that can be done for you physically, also digitally, that is done also. That is part of the things you do when you have the Azure DevOps. So when you join an organization, just as you've joined BlueSky, you will be added as a user to the organization's Azure DevOps. So that is like saying that you can come in. So when you initially, the first day you go to start a job in an office, the first place you're going to go and sit is at the reception. Okay, until somebody comes to pick you from there to take you into the building. And whoever is that person coming to take you into the building have their own pass already. But because your pass is not ready, that's why you can't go in. Even if you go in, you wouldn't know the floor or the room to go to, because you've not been taken around and all that. So with Azure DevOps also, you will be added as a new joiner or a new member or a new user to BlueSky Citadel. You will be added to the Azure DevOps. That's the first thing that would happen. And then when you're added to the Azure DevOps, the image you're seeing right now on the screen is what you will get in your email. So your email address, you would get an invite, an email from Azure DevOps telling you that you've been invited to a project in Azure DevOps. This is what you will get. And then the join now button on from your email, where you click on it, you'll be able to follow the process. It's very friendly, user friendly. You'll be able to follow the process for you to actually join the organization, be on the Azure DevOps organization for BlueSky Citadel. Okay. And then this is the URL. So once you click on the join now and everything, and you start what you need to do. Just ensure that this is the URL that you're saying. So a lot of people start the process of once they click on the join now, they miss one or two things and everything. And before they know it, they are actually creating an organization with their name with Azure DevOps. So in the URL for that, you won't see this. What you will see in the URL, if you miss it and you're creating an organization with either your email or your name, what you will get is from here up to where you have this slash and then you have your name. But for you to know that you're on the right track, once you have this URL showing in your browser, then that means you're on the right track. Okay. But at the same time, if you miss it, don't worry, we will have workshops where we'll be able to put people through, help people through. Like Laomi said earlier on, there'll be buddies and mentors who will help you through. So don't worry about that too much. And then once you're on the right track, this is another message that you will get once you've done everything, you followed all the steps. So do this, click on this, now add this and everything. Once you've done all that, you will get to a point where this message will come up saying, oops, something went wrong and all that. Nothing went wrong. So I just thought it's better to let people know. And also, if we have any Scrum Master listening tonight, and maybe your members start coming to you to say that, oh, this is what I get and everything, or I can't, it's telling me something is wrong and all that, just tell them to share with you the screenshot of what's the error they are getting. And once is this error that they are getting, don't worry. What this is just telling them is you're there, you're where you're supposed to be, because you will see the BlueSky Citadel up here. So that means you are in the organization. But what it just means is you're in the lobby. You're not on a project yet. Okay, you are on the lobby. And that's why it's saying that. So part of the session tonight is to coach the Scrum Masters how to set up. We said Azure DevOps setup. That was what is so. Is to show you how to set up a project board. Once your project board has been set up, you'll be the one to collate your team members' email address and then add them to the project board. So once you add them to the project board, they won't be seeing this anymore. They will be able to just, through that process of join now, they'll be able, once they follow the user-friendly process from Azure DevOps, they'll be able to just go onto their project board. But because the project board, they've not been added to any project board, this is what they will see. But just assure them that nothing is wrong. It's normal for you to see this until you're added to a project board, okay? So that's one of the things I just wanted to take out of the way before we go further. Sorry about that. I've jumped kind of. Yeah. Okay, so that's that for this. Quickly, before we go into the practical aspect of it, any question from anyone quickly before we start? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and then go on the board itself. Bear with me. Just bear with me, please. I just want to bring up the Azure DevOps board. Okay, then I shall explain again. Thank you. Right. Okay, so once you join, this is not what you will see. Okay. I'm seeing this because I'm admin. I'm able to see everything because I'm admin, but you won't be able to see all this. But just what I want to quickly pinpoint is once you join, like I said earlier on, check your URL. If you can see my URL here in the browser, you can see that it is BlueSky Citadel team. And that means I'm on the right website that I'm meant to be, or in the right organization on Azure DevOps that I'm meant to be in. And also you can see it here, BlueSky Citadel team, and also up here. Okay. But for you, you'll be going straight into your project. So the Scrum Masters will be given admin rights on a particular account. We'll discuss that later and all that, to be able to do what they need to do on this board. Okay, so let me try and move this away because it's blocking me a bit. Yeah. All right, so if you look at the board on the left hand side, is it my left? Sorry, this is my right now. Sorry about that. On the right hand side, you will see this blue box saying new projects. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to create a project on Azure DevOps. And to create a project, we need to click on this little box here that says new project. Once I click on that, you'll have this pop-up on the pop-up box on the right-hand side, and it's asking for the project name. Okay, so I'm going to name this 2025 June internship. Okay, so for your team, it will be your team's name or what you decide to call your project board. It might be your team's name that you want to call it, or your project's name, whatever that is. But we're just calling this one the June 2025 June internship is what we want to name it. And then the description also, I'm just going to call the description training training the use of Azure DevOps. Okay, so just trying to blend what we're doing tonight as the description. So with yours, it won't be training for the use of Azure DevOps. It will be what is the purpose of your team, which you would be told. What are you doing in your team? What is your team all about? Will be what you want to put in that description box. Okay, and then you get to where you have the visibility. So there are two visibilities that you can see here. So the first one is the public one. So by default, it's set with the private one. So as you can see, I didn't click on this icon. It came that way by itself. So by default, it comes with the private visibility. And what the private visibility is all about is that there's a specific people that can see it. It's only the people with the URL, is only the people that can sign in, okay, that can see this. So not the public one. So the public one, anyone with the link can put it into a browser and they have access to the board. So there are some projects that are like that, that they can do that. But because BlueSky Citadel is private, yeah, so it's more of being on the private side. And you can see what is written there, that only people you give access to will be able to view this. So if you've not been given access, even if you have the URL and you've not been added to the organization, like I said earlier on, and you don't have your username and your password and all that, you won't be able to have access to the Azure DevOps organization. You won't be able to have access into this, so to say. So we're going to leave it for your project, but also because BlueSky Citadel team as organization, Azure DevOps organization is private, you definitely have to leave this as private. So we're not going to make it public, it's going to be private, okay? And then when we come down here, you want to click on the drop down you have by advanced at the bottom here, if everybody can see my cursor, right? So you want to click on that just so we're also configuring this properly. And we're leaving this as Git also, because that's the only thing that is there for now. I think Azure DevOps has done a lot of updating. So it used to be Git and 𝐂𝐓_VC or something, where that is for on-site server. So you remember I said earlier on that is cloud-based, okay? So they just, the version control they're using right now is just Git. They've removed the on-site server from it. Okay, so that's what you have there. And then you're looking at the work item process. So what process do we want to follow is what this one is talking about. So there are, I think, 4 basic process that you have. You have agile, you have basic. So by default, it comes with the basic one, but you have agile, you have basic, you have CMMI, and then you have Scrum. Now, with this project and what you're learning here is all about the Scrum process. We know the Scrum is under Agile, but so the process we want to, because each process has its own specific features that you can use on it, and we want to use the Scrum features that are on it, because we'll be using Scrum process throughout the projects that you'll be working on. Your practical project is based on the Scrum process. So what we want to pick is the Scrum process, changing it from basic to the Scrum. So you click on Scrum, as you can see it there, and then at the bottom here, you click on create. So we're creating our board now. You can see it says new project is being created. Bear with me, my system is a bit slow. So you can see we've created our new project board. You can see the name of our board there, 2025 June internship there. And then it says, welcome to the projects. So these are some of the services or features that you will enjoy on this board. Because it has the boards, it has the repos, it has the pipelines, test plan, and artifacts. And then you can see all of them here in this left panel that you can see here. You can see the boards and all that. So each services you have here have sub-services under them also, which definitely we would get to, or you start using and then get used to it in the course of your internship. Okay, so that is the board created. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions before I go further. And another thing I want you to notice is, if you notice at the bottom here where it says members, there's only one member, and that one member is myself, because I've just created it. So, but like I said, before we go further, I just want to know if there are any other anyone with any questions before I go further. I'm not sure if anyone is raising their hand. I can't see if you're raising your hand because I'm sharing my screen. So okay, so the next thing we want to do, I want to believe nobody's raising their hand so that I can go on. But the next thing we want to do is we want to
just want to ask if the name of the project, maybe I just change my mind, I want to give it another name. Is there any how I can edit it after I've created?
Yes, I'll show you how to do that. Yeah. Okay, so this okay, so if we come to the left panel here, yeah, you can see that the one highlighted, the darker color out of all of them, is summary. Can you notice that? So this is the summary. If I go to overview, that's just to quickly answer that question before we go further. If I go to, okay, sorry. If you need to change it, I don't want to go to, okay, let me quickly just answer that question. So if your team, you've picked your name, the name of the project, and then your team decided, we want to add a bit of, or later on you want to change the name of your project. What you do is you go to project settings. So can everybody see my cursor? So I need you to please follow the cursor so that I don't need to go back all the time. Okay. So on this left panel where you have 2025 June internship, that has some few services listed down there. At the bottom of it, you can see project settings. Okay, so if I click on project settings, it brings me here. So this is giving me the project details, and you can see the name there, and you can also see the description I entered when we were doing it. So as an administrator, and the administrator is the only person that is able to change, the name. So I can go here and let's just add something more in there. I can see 2025 June internship. Let me put coaching there. Or let me put project history. Yeah. So once you put that, you can see the save coming up. And all I have to do is just to press save. Now, so when you do that, it's going to bring this up to say change project name. And what it's asking you here is to confirm the new project name. So what he wants you to type in here is what it has grayed out. So he just wants you to type the same thing. So the current name was 2025 June internship. So he wants you to now type in here the project, the new name that you want. So I'm just going to repeat the same thing there, which is project 2025 June internship project. Okay. So that is the new name. And then it's saying that I understand that the consequences of renaming this project. Okay, so before I go further, let me tell you that there are consequences of doing that. So if you've customized your board, if we've gone ahead to do some of the things that we were going to do later on, customize it, configure one or two things, that's why he's giving you this warning, that there are some consequences for you doing that, which definitely you need to read here. It says renaming this project is a disruptive action that can significantly impact all members. The new name will update across all version control paths, work items, queries, URLs, and other project contents. Project members may need to react, and all currently running builds may fail as a result of this change. So because of some of the services you have here, which after configuration, some things might have been done by your team members. So down the line, when you've started working on your project and all that, is not the right time to change the name of your project, because like it says there, it will disrupt things. So some items you might not find, some work items you might not find, some test cases might get missing. So you need to be sure the name you want to call your project, or you need to change it when you still can, before you started working on it, before work items have been created on it, before QAs have put their test plans and things have been running on it. So you have to be sure of the name you want to call your project before you do that. Okay, so even though I've shown, and it's not something we really advise you to do, because like I said, it's going to be disruptive. And once you've changed it, because Microsoft doesn't want you to come around and maybe blame them for the consequences, that's why you are agreeing to it here. Says, I understand the consequences of renaming this project. So you can't go back to them to say, oh, but we didn't know about it. You've been warned, you've been shown. Okay. It says, please ensure you fully understand the impact and have notified all project members before completing this action. So you have to be sure, and you need to know that it can lead to loss of some work items. So it's not something anybody will advise you to, to do. And even if you're a Scrum Master in the workforce out there, even though you're a project administrator, this might be something that you are not able to do because of the IT department would have limited your, let me say, permission, so to say, so that you're not able to do anything that would impact, like I said, the project, some of the things that have been done on the project. But if it's the early time, maybe when you're creating it, there's a typographical error, maybe when you just set up the board and all that, definitely you can go through the routes that I've just gone through to change one or two things, maybe a full stop, an apostrophe, you spelled the name of your project, what you want to put on your project board wrongly and all that initially when you're doing the setup. That's why I've shown you this. If not, it's not a good thing to do way into your projects because of things that have been done on it. Yeah. And also because, there's some configurations you will notice that we would do that would have been configured with the previous name. So by the time you start changing, those will be affected. And that's why it's not the right thing to do down the line when work has started on this. I hope that's clear.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
so
you.
I'm just going to save it with the new name. So we've just added projects to it. Okay, so that's part of our name, and you can see over here also that has changed. Even in your URL also, you will notice that has changed. It has now added projects to the URL. No longer what it was before we put the project into it. So quickly, I'm just going to now add members to this project board. So I'm going to go back here to where we were before, okay? And then add the members. So a team is a group of people, which I think we all know, and you're responsible for the software development. So for the Scrum team members, you will have your product owner, you will have the scrum master, you will have the developers, and then you will have your QAs. Okay, so a user must be able to have access to the board, and that's why you need to add your team members to your project board. So once you're here, you will have these invites again. Right top corner here, the blue box says invite. Okay, so when you press on that, another pop-up box says invite members to this project. Okay, so over here, I'm able to put the names of the people I want. So I want to put Abimbola there. So I'm just going to pick Abimbola's name. And that's because she's already, okay, let me start typing because there's something I need you to see. So once all your members, yourself included, your members are on the project board, on the organization, Azure DevOps organization. So you're not on your project board yet. You're just in the organization. Like I said, you got your offer letter. You're already a member of the organization. When you go in there, you just don't open the front door and just walk in and things like that. You still need your pass. Okay, so you've been added your pass now. You need to know the floor that your team member belongs to. The side of the floor they sit at. Is it the left hand open plan space or the right hand open plan space and all that? And that is what your project board represents. Okay, your project board represents this is our team, and you're putting everyone on your team. That's what you're doing with this. So I'm going to start typing Bola's email, and because she's already on the organization, it will give you every Abimbola that is there. So if there are more than one and all that, that's why you need the list of your team members' email, okay, so that you can pick them and put them. But because I know Abimbola's email, that's why I'm adding her to it. So she's one person that I've added to it. I'm going to add Olawumi also to it. Okay, so it will bring it up once you start typing because they're already on the organization. Yeah. And like I said, please confirm so that in case you have more than one James, more than one John, look through to make sure that you're picking the email address of the right person. And then I'm going to put Damisola also. Okay, so that's Damisola also. Damisola also on there. I'm going to, let me just put two more people on there. Right, let me put Deji there also. Okay, so you can see Deji Manuel there. Add Deji there, and then I can add Juliet also. So if I have Juliet there, Juliet is there. Okay, so let's assume these are members of this team. These are members of my team and all that. And you can see they've been added to my project board. That's the team they're in. I've added them there. And then you come to the bottom, of that pop-up box. And you can see add. So I'm going to click on that. I'm just going to wait for it to come back and tell me they've been added because it's going to give you that message confirmation. So you can see the confirmation message. Success, added 5 users to one team. And then what did you notice here has changed? Initially, when we created this project board, it was just myself that was there. Now you can see that everybody that I've added are all here. So you're saying that this project has 6 members. So that's how you add your member. So you can, number one, see it through here, all of them through here. And then you can also see them through your project setting. So if I go to project setting right now, just want to show you how you can get your team members, just to confirm that you have everybody. So from project setting that I clicked on, you go into the project setting panel on your left over here, and then you click on teams. So we're looking at the teams that are on this project board, and you can see that's your team. So if I click on this, it gives me the name of everyone that I've added. So it gives me the name, their user ID, and then it gives me their name, the username, which is their email. So even if once your project board has been set up, You get new members coming in to your project. This is another way you can add a new person to your project. So if I click on here, it gives you the same box. But remember, this was not where, I'm just going to cancel this for now. This is not where we added initially, but let's assume your project has started. A new team member comes in, you are trying to onboard them. Once they've been added to the organization, all you need to do is to come here, click on this, and then you're able to add them. So just to show you that this works also, I'm just going to add one person. I'm going to add the part. So you can see there's a lot of part there, okay? So you can see there's a lot of part, but because I know the person I want to pick, I'm just going to go on to it. Yeah, and then the same thing, just save when you get here. And then you will see her also appearing. Again, that's successful. You've added one member and you can see that she's been added. So this is after you've set up, and then there's a new member that just joined your team, the Scrum Master. In onboarding them, the first thing you need to know is, have they been added onto the organization? If they have, you take their email, you come through project settings to this page, and then you click on Teams. From Teams, if I close it again, it comes back here. You click on the name of your team, and then you're able to use the add button to add your member to your project board. Okay, any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know if you are still taking us there. Just want to know if you want to remove any members as well. Is there any way we go about that?
Yes, you can remove a member also. So maybe somebody mistakenly became a member of your team. Is still the project settings side you will go through. Yeah, still click on Teams. Click on your projects. And then on the person's name that you want to remove, once you hover over it, let me just use Lady Part again. So once you put your cursor over it, you can see these three dots here. They're called ellipses. Says more options. So if I click on that, you can see remove. So if I click on the remove, it's going to add you. Are you sure you want to remove that person from the project team? And then you can see delete. And you can see it says successfully deleted. So that person has been removed.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Right, so I'm just going to go back here because I still have some few things to quickly show on here before we move on. Okay, so before we go, the next thing we want to do is how to customize our project board using the inherited process. Okay, so what the inherited process means, I want to explain that before we actually go to show it, is that before you start customizing your board, because you have to customize your board to suit your team. So you have different project teams in the workplace, and each team's dynamics are different. Okay, what each team wants on their board are different and everything. But remember that you are on one of the four major process that came with this software from Microsoft. This is Azure DevOps, which we noticed when we were creating our project board. We have the Agile one, we have the basic, we have the CMMI, and then we have the Scrum, and we picked the Scrum one. The Scrum process is what we've picked. Okay, so if we do any customization on our project board, we start customizing this. Oh, I want our projects to be like this. I want it to go this way. I want to be able to see this and all that. If you do that with the Scrum, that means every single team that uses that process will start having the same thing you've configured, and they might not need it on their own project. And they might also configure some things which you don't need on your project. So you start seeing some things and you're wondering, where did this come from? We don't need this. Why is this there and everything and all that? So in order to save from doing that is why we do the inherited process. And what the inherited process means is that you're creating a branch out of Scrum, which is just suited for your project and the customization you do. So your inherited process is just meant for your project. And then because you've just created a branch out of the Scrum process itself, it won't affect any other board. And I'll show you some things that have happened while we're going on, so that you can understand why we needed that inherited process. Yeah. But to create that inherited process, you need to go to the process itself, which is on your project settings. Okay, so we're going again to this. Most of the configuration you do, you'll have to do with settings, which I think you'll be aware of, even on your phone at times when you need to do some configurations or customizations on your project, some securities or things like that. You normally go through the settings. So it's not different here also, that you have to go through the settings also in order to do some of the things that you need to do. So in order to do that, we come to the project settings at the bottom here. So as you can see, under these project details, you can see that your process is Scrum. And like we say, we need to create a branch out of this. So that inherited process is really like saying, I'm creating a branch out of that, so that we're not using the main Scrum and affecting any other projects that are on Scrum. But that inherited process, when you create it, there's a way you name it with your project name, and it's just being used just by your project alone, or your team alone, or your project board alone. Okay, so we're going to click on the process here. Can everybody see my cursor? So that process Scrum is what we want to click on over here. And once you click on that, because it's part of the organization setting, you can see, yeah, that is showing us the organization settings here. Okay, so it says all process here. It's showing us Scrum here, and then it's saying all process. So once you come here, what you need to do is to go under all process. All the processes is what you want to see. So that's the basic one. That's Agile, and then that's Scrum. So you can see all these inherited processes that have been created under Scrum. Yeah, you can see this basic one, an inherited process has also been created under that one. Okay, so for Scrum, you can see all the ones that have been created. So you can see Scrum standing out there. And then all these branches coming in, all those icons, this icon that you can see is just saying that they are all inherited process that has been created out of Scrum, so that anything we do, customization we do not affect anybody coming to stay under the Scrum process itself. So to do that, if I take my cursor off, you can see that it's still highlighted in blue, because that is the process we're under. So there are 3 dots again. This is the last time I call them 3 dots. So I need you to get used to calling them what they are, and they are ellipses. And you can see again that it's looking at the team projects that are under Scrum, and you can see 6. So out of these 6, ours is there. Yeah, if you want to see all the projects that are there, I'm going to show you. So what I'm going to do is, if I go under Scrum, I'm going to go back to Scrum, and then let's go to projects here. At the bottom here, you'll see work item types, backlog levels, and then you see projects. So those 6 projects that we can see underneath it, they're all here. And you can see ours is one of the ones that are there. You can see 2025 June internship project. So all these other ones are using the Scrum without an inherited process. But we don't want to do that. We want to, create our own inherited process. So I'm going to go back to all processes, and then I'll come to this ellipsis. I'm going to click on it, and then it will give you this little box. So under this little box, you can see it says create inherited process, and that's where we're going to. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to bring this box up, and it's asking for the process name. Is required. We need to create a name for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our project name to create our inherited process. Okay, so we're going to say 2025. Well, we're not going to spaces. We're going to put everything, write everything together. So what's the name of our project again? Can anybody remind me, so that I'm sure everybody's here with me and not just the only one talking? What's the name of our project? Can anyone remember what the name of the project is again?
2025 internship.
25 June internship project.
Okay, so it's 2024 June internship project. Thank you. That means you're following. Okay, so you can see we put it. Okay, I need to change my June, the U in my June.
So
So
what's
that's
the consequence?
2025.
What's the consequence of having space in between the words?
I think it has to do with how things are. I won't say this is coding, but it just has to do with how things are. And you can put space in it really, because I think this is one inherited process. If you can see this one that says Azure Data Project, there's space in between it, but it's just for the purpose of having it together. I think this is the right way. So space or no space, I don't think it matters, because I can see one that has a space here that has been created. But if you look at all the other ones also, there are no spaces between them. Yeah. And then you put your description here. So what's the description that we want to give our inherited process? Will just be to customize, sorry, to customize the project code. Okay, so I'll just put the description there as to customize the project board to suit the team's need. And then I'll create the process. Okay, so you can see our process here, June 2025 June internship project. Let me see if I can edit that, because I can edit it, because the N, I'd rather the N is small letter, not a capital letter. Yep. Okay, so save it. And so you can see that's our inherited process there. So I want you to notice one thing now. The inherited process is there, but we've not moved our project there. It's still 0. So that means there is no project there on it yet. So Scrum still has the 6. That means our project is still with Scrum, isn't it? So what we need to do is to remove our project from Scrum and put it on this one, on our inherited process. And for us to do that, we're just going to go back to Scrum again, and then go back to project under Scrum, because we're trying to get to our project, and this is our project on Scrum. Again, you have the ellipses in front of it. If you click the ellipses in front of it, it says change process, and we want to change our process from Scrum to the inherited process that we've created. Okay, so you click on that change process, you come here, and it's saying select a target process, and we're just going to click on this drop down in order to pick our process from here, and that's it. 2025 June internship project. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to say save. So it says complete. You can see the message. The project is now using that inherited process that we've created. So I'm just going to close this one. And then you can see this is Scrum. Our project is no longer under Scrum because we've moved it. We've moved it to our inherited process. So if we go back to all processes now, under Scrum, you can only see 5 there. And then if you check our inherited process, you can see 1 there. So that means our project is now here. So I've clicked on our process, the one we created. And if I go on projects, you can see our project has been moved there. So one thing is to create the inherited process. That is not you completing the job. You need to move your project from the main Scrum process onto the inherited process that you have created. And that is what we've done. Okay, so quickly, I'm just going to also, just for emphasis sake, for all the projects that you have still under Scrum, all these projects, believe you me, they created the inherited process. What they didn't do is to move their project from here onto the inherited process. And then they did some customization thinking they've done, they created inherited process and they just thought, oh, automatically it's just going to move. No, it's not automatic. You have to move it from this process onto the inherited process that you've created before you start doing your customization. Okay. All right. So let's go back to ours or process again. I just want to make sure we're on our own, which is 2025. And then go to our project board through it. I can as well reach the project board through here without going through that long process. If I click on project here, I can get to our projects also. So that's our project there. I can also get to our projects from there once we know the name. So we're back to our project board now. So anything we want to do now, and you can see the process. Initially, when I clicked on it here was Scrum. Now you can see it has changed to 2025 June internship projects. That's the process, inherited process we've created. So we're rest assured now, we validated that our project has moved from the main Scrum process onto the inherited process that we created. Any questions so far before we go to the next thing that we need to do? Any question on inherited process before we go further?
So I'm just thinking that this inherited project, is it like just cloning an existing project you have done? You just want to use the template, just cloning the template of the...
I won't say it's cloning. So cloning is you copying a template and using. But this is you branching off a process to customize your own so that you're not affecting the main one. Okay, let me use a tree as an example, which is quite good. So there's a tree standing. I want to do some decorations on the tree, but I don't want to affect the whole tree. I just want a branch of it to maybe do some carvings on it and all that. So I just pick one branch of that tree to do all the carvings I want to do and everything and all that. It's just one branch that is affected, not the whole tree. But if I do whatever carving that I want to do on the whole thing, then the whole thing is affected. That's one example. Another example that I want to use is, imagine somebody baking cake. They want to do some special effects and all that, but they don't want to affect the whole thing. So they will take a portion of maybe the mixture they have. They'll just take a portion of it to do whatsoever they want to do. There are some cakes you have now, when you cut them open and all that, you see some parts are chocolate, some parts are still vanilla, creativity and all that and everything. In order to get that person has to divide up the mixture and make one part, I don't know how they do it, make one part chocolate and the other part leave it as vanilla and all that. But the main thing is that's different from cloning. So when you clone, what you're doing is there's a template already and I'm cloning it. So I'm getting like for like, whatsoever is on that template I'm using is what I'm going to get also. So I can change some bit of things and all that. That's why I don't want to use the word cloning. So this is more like getting, branching out from the main thing in order for you to do some setup that you need to do.
Clear. Thank you.
I don't know if that's clear.
Yeah, it's clear to me. I'm just wondering that if I go into an organization that I just want to embrace Azure, that this is the first this is a virgin package, and we don't have any existing project. So I'm just thinking that how will I go about this? That's why.
Okay.
That
So let me quickly come in here and explain one or two things. So doing this with you, creating a project board and all that and everything from scratch and using the process, branching out of the process and everything is just giving you basic knowledge. When you go to an organization, their IT team would have configured things. So even if you have to create a project, you'll be expected to follow the configured process they have in place. So most times it's either their infrastructure team that would have done that because they are the ones managing the Azure DevOps, maybe system and all that. So you won't be doing all the setups that we're doing right now. But for you to have this basic knowledge is so good. Imagine you've gone to an interview, you've told them, oh, I've been doing this, I know how to do this, I know how to do that and all that. And then you join the organization and then you start calling people, oh, sorry, how do I do this? Sorry, how do I get to this? And then they start thinking in their head, I thought you said you knew. Do you understand? So some of the things I'm showing you this night, especially the beginning, all those setup and all that, you might get to an organization and you don't need to do it. You might be joining a team that has a board running already, but it is good because you are the Scrum Master. Remember, that's who you are. You're a master of what you're doing. And you said, oh, I've used this before. I know how to do this. I know how to do this and all that. And the team members are getting in touch with you to say, oh, we need an extra column and all that. You can't say, oh, sorry, how do I do that? So that's why we're giving you some basic knowledge into all this. So again, let's use an example of, I don't know, medical students or even lawyers. Initially, when you go and study law, you'll be given the general knowledge. I think it's in your year 2 or year 3 that you now need to branch out to your specialization. So just take this as a general knowledge. So initially also, during the training, we normally just focus on the Scrum Masters because they are the ones that do this generally. So a BA won't set up a board, a QA won't set up a board, and definitely a developer won't set up a board or administer the board. Yeah, they can do 1 or 2 things on the board, which I'll show you us later and we're going to get to, but they won't be doing the basic administrative things on the board. That is your job as a Scrum Master. But we found out in going forward that even though it's just the Scrum Masters we're showing, other people are missing out of that general knowledge of how a project board works. And that's why we've included all the other roles to be part of this learning and this training, so to say. So they are just having general knowledge. I wouldn't expect a QA to go and create a board. It's not your job. It's not your responsibility. I wouldn't expect a BA to go and create a project board. It's not your responsibility. It is the main responsibility of the Scrum Master to ensure that all the resources and tools that your team needs in order for them to function in their role properly is properly set up, is properly scheduled. So this is the job of the Scrum Master. And like I said, even if you go into an organization and it's a new project that you're starting with a new team and all that, you won't go to the nitty-gritty as we've gotten into. So maybe what you would start from is that you just set up a project. You won't be doing those inherited process and all that and everything. And you'll be talking a lot to the infrastructure team. They would have taken some permissions anyway from you, whereby you are not able to create an inherited process, except if you talk to them. There will be some customization that you want to do that it won't allow you to do. You will be telling you something like request for access to be able to do it. And then when you go and meet them, they'll be asking you, oh, what do you want to do? Oh, don't worry, we'll do that. Because it might be cost effective what you're doing. So they need to keep an eye on that so that everybody that joins the organization is not doing things out of the contracts they've signed, with Microsoft for what they want to use. Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, so the next thing we want to do now is to now that we're on our inherited process, we can customize our board to what we want to do. So this is just an overview. This is general, as you can see at the top here in this left panel. This is an overview. So we've done what we need to do there. We've checked everything. Our project name is what we want it to be. The description is what we want it to be. We've changed our process to what we want it to be. It's fine. So the next thing we want to have a look at is the team. Do we have the right team, which we've gone through that time? We've checked the team members. They are there. If you want to add new members, you've just add a new member. You want to add a new member, you need to go into your team to do that, which I've shown you. So I don't want to go back to that. This is permission. You can see that the permission has a lock on it. So it's not a place that we expect you to go to do anything. So please don't do anything on the permission. Okay. The notification also, I think, is for admin. Not for admin Scrum Master, but like I said, in the organization, it will be for the admin. So we don't expect you to do anything under permission, under notification, and also under service hooks. So, but let's come to dashboard because you will need the dashboard. Okay. So for the dashboard, you want to customize what you want your the toggle. So you can see all the 3 toggles there are disabled. So you want to be able to create a dashboard. A dashboard is where you have all your metrics on and all that. We'll get to it also. So you want to be able to create your dashboard. So we're going to toggle that on. Okay, we're going to enable that. You want to be able to edit your dashboard. So you're also going to enable that. But you're not going to enable delete dashboard. Can anyone tell me why we don't want to enable that? Anyone?
To avoid story that touch.
To avoid what, sorry?
Story that touch. You can mistakenly delete the dashboard. And that's
good. So you don't want your team members to go on the dashboard. Oh, I'm checking the metrics there, and mistakenly their hands went to delete. And they will delete the whole dashboard. So everything you set on that dashboard, all the metrics and everything is gone. And as a result, you want to leave it disabled. So no matter how much they click on the X, or it won't even show. Okay, it won't show for them to be able to delete it. So you want to leave that. So those are parts of the customization we want to do for our own project. We don't want members to be able to delete anything. So even though we've activated this tool, we've enabled this tool, we're going to leave this one disabled. And that's our dashboard done, set up already. Okay, so I think that one is straightforward enough. Another thing we want to do is to reset some of the default states that we have on the project. So one of it is the project configuration. So we're coming down to the boards now. Okay, so we want to go to our project configuration. So there are some default settings that you have here that we want to change. Okay, so earlier on I was explaining when the question came about in organizations you have I'm simply calling it the IT department. So some organization calls them IT department, some organization calls them the infrastructure department, because Azure DevOps is an infrastructure for your organization. So some call them infrastructure team, they're different names. Some call them the system department or something like that. So you have different names for them. So for this one, you can see that there's some basic customization that has been done by the IT team for BlueSky. If you've noticed, they've listed out sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, 4, 5, and 6. They've done that already. The only thing they've not done is to set the date, the start and the end date, which would be what you would do as Scrum Masters, but they've listed that down already. At some organizations also, you will have that. All those has been done, because they don't want you coming, like I said, to mix things together. So even though we've created an inherited process, this has been created with a Scrum, is part of this what has been set up under the Scrum process, and is what we need. So we're not going to tamper with it, we're not going to touch it. Okay, so that's going to be like that. And then that's for iteration. You can see the iteration is the one that is highlighted up here. So we just want to go to areas also. For the areas also, we're coming here to just check that we have the right area path, and we do have it. Your project is your area path. So we are on the right track for anything we need to do on this board. So this is just mainly to confirm that we have the right things showing. So we're not going to do anything here. Okay, so that's for the project configuration. And then we go to the team configuration. So on the team configuration, there are some few things we're going to do. So under the backlog level, the backlog navigation level is from, by default, is just the features and the backlog items that has been enabled. But we also want to enable the epic. Okay, so for the BAs, they're the ones that uses this most. And what you're just doing is when we enable all the backlog navigation levels, you're able to link up your work items properly. Okay, so you'll be able to create your epic, you'll be able to link your features to your epic, and then you'll be able to link your backlog items, your product backlog items. Some call it, you can also call it the user stories, to the link. So you have all the right links once we enable that. And because in the organization, you're just going to work from Monday to Friday, you can see that by default, that has also been enabled. So if it's an organization, I don't think there's an organization that works Monday to Sunday, but if there has been what the team is meant to do, you'll have to enable both Saturday and Sunday. But for our purpose, it's just Monday and Friday. So we're going to leave it at that. And then working with bugs, when you come here, we want, by default, the bugs are managed with requirements. What that means is your bugs are managed with the user stories. And that means that when the QAs are testing, once they're testing a particular user story, they're able to raise bugs based on whatsoever defects they notice or they identified on that user story. Yeah, so we're going to leave that there. That's what we want. The other one is bugs that are managed with tasks. So once you start working in a sprint, you have tasks. So if we have chosen enable this one, and you can only enable one anyway, you're just preferring, it's just a preference to say that this is what we want to do. So the bugs will be managed with the task and not with the user story. So, but we want our bugs to be managed, to be linked to the user story. So we're going to leave it as the way it came with the default section. And that's for general. So you can see here general. So that's done. And then we're just going to move to the next one, which is the iteration. So for iteration also, like I said, when we went on the project configuration, we noticed that all the sprint has been set up. You can see here also that is reflecting also under the team configuration, sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, and is joining your area path, like I said earlier on. So it's saying for team June internship project, there's 4 sprints, or there's sprint 1, and then you'll be able to set your dates, the dates there. Okay, so that has been done. But there's something we want to do here on this page before we move ahead. Okay, so this says default iteration. And what that means, when you have current iteration, what that means is any work item. Let's assume we're in sprint 1. And after the sprint planning, let's use the example of the demo. Let it play at the back of our minds now. When we had the sprint planning, we said, what are we going to commit to? We're committing to these 3 stories. These 3 stories we're moving to committed, and we're working on it. And remember that the BA at the point said, I'm meeting with the PO so that I can start working on the stories that we're going to work in the next sprint. So the BAs work ahead of the sprint. So if the BA starts creating stories and we don't customize or change this, every story they create will be going into the current sprint. That's what this means. This current iteration you see here. That means once they create a story, even though the story they are creating it in the backlog, once they create it, it just automatically goes on the sprint. And then you as a Scrum Master, you're checking, we have 3 stories. How come it's showing 4? How come it's showing 5? It's because this has not been set properly. So we want to change that. And the way to change that is to click on this change. And then you have all this drop down. And what we want to do is we want our default iteration to be our area path. This is our area path. We want it to be on here. So I'm going to click this to change it. So once they create their stories now, it will be in the backlog. It won't be going onto the sprint. And just because I've changed it here doesn't mean it's done. I have to press set. So set is like save. Okay, so once I press set, that is set. So by default, our stories will be going into the backlog. And then you can see the backlog iteration here. We're not going to change this one. This one is in the right place. We're just saying with this one is during the sprints, during a particular sprint, when the BAs are working for the next sprint, we don't want what they're doing to be going into the current sprint. We want it to stay in the backlog. That's the change that we've just customized here. Okay. Any questions on that before All right, let me just finish up. Okay, so here also, there's nothing to do. It's just, again, showing that we're on the right area path. You can see the area path by default is our project, so that's fine. On the template, you don't come to change anything in the template. We're not changing anything in the template, so to say. So we're going to leave this area the way it is. Okay, so these are all called work items. All these that you see here are all called work items. So we're going to leave that the way they are. So any questions on this part, this process before we move to the next one?
On the area I saw new child. What does that mean? New child. Under
Sorry, what?
area,
Which one?
area, just click on areas.
Okay.
Yeah, you see a new child. Yeah, new child.
Which one?
Where after select area, remove new child.
Yeah, it's not a place you come for to do
Okay.
anything. So this one is just saying select area. You can say, I said there's some configuration that has been done already by the organization. So if this had not been there, yeah, you can now click on select areas and be able to pick your area, which will just be your project name. But that has been done already. So me coming here is just to ensure, confirm that everything has been set the way they need to be. And a new child would be the iterations that would go underneath it, which we've seen here. It has been done already. Okay?
All right.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so we'll go to the next thing that we need to do. So we've done the project configuration, we've done the team configuration. So we're going to go on the board now and try and configure our board or customize our board to what we want. So you can, okay, so I'm going to click on this. So if you hover on it, it brings up all the sub features that are underneath it. But if I click on it, it's going to open it up. Okay, so you can see we've left the project settings now. We've come on the board itself now. The board we're talking about, we've come on it. So all I did was to click this board here, and then it will open up all these. So these are all the sub services that you have on the board itself. So we're going on the main board for the project. Okay, and then you can see that by default, this is what comes. So by default, what you will have is the new column, the approved column, the committed column, and then the done column. But we want to configure, customize our board in such a way that we're able to add some other boards to it. We want our workflow to start from here, but we want to add some other columns to it. Okay, and the way to do that, to configure your board to see other columns, is to go to the configure theme setting. So your configure theme setting is on the left, so on the right, sorry, top right. So if you go to the top right, there's this cog. I don't know if I can call it that here. Okay, that looks like an engine. But if you hover over it, it says configure board settings. So if I click on that, it brings up this big, much bigger panel where we're going to do all that. So you can see all the configuration we've done on project settings coming up here. So the epic that we enabled, you can see it. The Monday to Friday that was by default, you can see it. And then the bug manage with requirements, you can see that here. And that is under general. So we're going to go to board. That's where we want to configure. And we want to configure the columns. So if I click on columns here, okay, we're able to, you will see this. So it's saying, on the board, before I brought this up, you can only see the new, the approved, the committed, and the done column. But what we want to do now is we want to add more board to that. We want to add more columns to that. So what you do is you click on this add column at the top. Okay, so you can see saying is a new column. So we want, after our new column, we want to have a column for the BAs. I said it that your project board is a collaborative tool that shows visibility and transparency of what everyone is doing. So even what our BAs are doing, we want to be able to see it. We want to be able to track progress through our project board. So in this one, we're going to name this new column we created. We're going to name it in BA. Okay, so once the BA are working, anything progress work that the BAs are doing, we want to be able to move it into this column to see that they're doing what they need to do. Now, it's saying that the work in progress limits, people set work in progress limits there. You can say, oh, I don't want to have more than 5 work items in this column, but because it's the BA and they have a lot of work that they do, we want to change this and just make it 15. Okay, we're not going to split it because we want a clear cut between when they're working and when the work is done. Okay, so we want to set that. The BAs don't work on bugs. Okay, so we don't want to see bugs there. Okay, actually, I'm going to cancel this. There's something else we need to do in project settings before we come to the board. So quickly permit me to go back there. So what we want to do is we want to do some configurations to our work items so that when they are moving onto the board, we want to see the states they're in. We want to see them reflecting the board that they're on. And for us to do that, we're going to go back to our inherited process. Remember, when we come to an inherited process, we see all this work item listed here. Yeah, we see all the work items, but the ones we're going to work with is we're going to start with the product backlog item. So and then we have the backlog levels here and then the project, but we're not coming here to do anything. So mainly we're going to work on this one here. Okay, so I'm going to pick the product backlog item. We're coming to do some things in the layout. So okay, let's just quickly do that now. So in the layouts, if you open it up, this is the detail page. This is what you see. You'll have the description, the acceptance criteria. I think there's the discussion column that you will find there. You'll have all these details and everything, other things you will see in there. Okay, so under the new field, we want to create some new field into it. So if I click on new field here, I want to add more fields to what is there, or we want to add more fields to what is there. Now, the more field that we want to add to what is there, we want to use an existing field. So because I want to believe it's existing, we want to be able to add a field for the developer. So we're going to add for the BA first. Okay, so we want to see a field for the BA whereby the BA are able to put, their name against it. So I'm going to add that field, which later on you will see, you can see that it has added the field to it. Okay, and then we want to add another field. So the new field also will go to existing. So existing field means somebody has has created that field before. Remember those 5 projects that I said they used the Scrum. So they've added some field. And once a field has been added before, you can't create a new field. It will tell you it has been used before. So instead of creating it as new, just go to the use an existing field and add it to your own project. So we want to add for dev also. Some put dev, some put developer. Okay, so dev is same thing as saying developer. And we want to add that field also. So we want to know the particular developer that is working on a particular project. While we're adding all this, once we go into the work item itself, I'll tell you why we do that. Okay, and then let's add another field for the QAs. So there's an existing one also. So we're just going to pick the existing one also and add that to it. So let's assume in your team, you have a DA working in your team. Maybe because it has to do with data migration and all that, we can also add a field for them. Okay, so if we go back in there and then we'll do DA, we're able to add the DA. So these are all role-based fields, that we've added into our product backlog item. We want to go to the state also. We want to set some states in place. So by default, what you have is new, approved, committed, and done. Remember, those are the 4 by default columns that we have. So when my work item goes into all these columns, it will be showing, the state will be showing the name of those columns. But because we're going to create more columns and we want the state to be showing the names of those columns that we're going to, customize, when the work item goes into them also, we're going to create new states. We want new states. So the new state we want is in BA, because we're going to create a column for them. Okay. So once we've done that, what category does the BA belongs to? So the BA belongs to the proposed category. So whatsoever story you're going to write as a BA, you're proposing it for the product owner. The product owner is going to approve it. So work has not started on it yet. So it's going to be in the proposed state. It's going to be in the proposed category. Okay. And then you can see the color is grayed out because nothing has started on it. It's not active yet. And then we're going to create that. So once we create that, it goes under the approved, but it's not meant to be under approved. It's meant to be before approved. So we can move that up. You see, you have the option to move it up. So it's just going to move up before approved, because in BA is when they're working on it before it comes to approved. Okay. So we want to create another state, and that's BA done. To say that, oh, we've done working on it. That is still in the proposed state, remember? And then we create that also. So you can see the 2 of them are still coming under approved, and they've not been approved yet. Okay, so let me finish all the creating, and then we'll now move them to where they need to be. So the next one we want to do, because I'm looking at the time, is once we have the BA created, we have the approved state, we have the committed state. After committed, we've started the sprint. The first person that needs to work on it is the developer. So we need the in-dev. So with in-dev is in progress because work has started. After committed is when the in-dev comes in. So we create that. So looking at the pattern of the names we're naming, what do you think the next state should be? Anybody?
I think
Okay.
Dev done.
Dev done. Well done. So dev done. So that's still in progress, even though it's dev done. And then the next one would be who will be working after the developer is finished. Who is the next person to pick up?
QA.
QA. So we have the in QA. Well done, everyone. And that's still in progress also. So we create that. And then the next one, this one should be easy. What should I name the next one?
QA done.
QA done. Thank you. And that's still in progress also. Okay, so done is the last thing. It's completed. So nothing comes after done. Okay. So you can see that it has arranged it for us. Now, after the QA has done whatever they need to do and they've passed it and all that, the BA are going to do a test called UAT. UAT means user acceptance test. And what they are trying to do is, is everything in line with what we have written in the story? Okay. So we can have just one UAT. Sometimes I like having in UAT and UAT done. Okay, so that's still in progress. And then if we have the next one will be UAT done. Okay, and remember this is going into the product backlog item. Okay, so once we have all these done, let me just move these ones that were coming down. Let me move them up now. Move up. And then I'm going to move the VA done up also. Okay, so we've done that for the product backlog item. And then I'm going to go back to our process because we want to pick another work item to customize. So I want to pick the task this time around. For the task, we're going to create a new field also inside the task. And the field we want to create in there is during the demo, you remember that the developer and the the QA, they had to estimate the hours it's going to take them to do the work they need to do. Okay, so what we want to create into this one, again, we're going to use an existing field, is we're going to put planned hours. So this is the hour I planned. You can see planned estimated hours. We're going to pick that one. We want to put that in our is a field we want to put in there. Okay, and then we're also going to pick actual worked hours. So they want to be able to demarcate that, oh, at the end. So I might say, oh, okay, it's gonna take me 8 hours to do it, and then it ended up taking me 5 hours. So you want to come back into that work item to say, okay, your planned hours you'll have 8 there, and then your actual worked hours, you'll have a 5 there. So let's assume that subsequent sprints that you work on and all that, you're doing something similar to what you've done before, and you want to be able to estimate, even if it's not accurate or accurate estimation. You want to think about, oh, so how many hours did it take me when I did that? You're able to go back into your task and see that because you've recorded it. So that's why we're having this field here, to help you get better at estimating your hours. Your effort is different from your hours, but that's another session entirely, and I don't want to bring that into this session. Okay, so we've created those ones here, and then when we go into the state for the task, we're not going to actually add anything to it. So this is what you will have on your sprint: to do, in progress, and then done. So some team at times put in review, depending. We said that it has to be customized. So if there's a tech lead in that team and say, oh, I want to review what people do before it gets to done, as a Scrum Master, you come back here and you put up that state. But we're not going to put that in. So these are part of the things why we show you all these things, because the tech lead or your team members, you might decide that, oh, we want this to be part of our ways of working. And then you'll have to go on the board. You won't be asking them, so sorry, where do I go to do that? Because you can, maneuver yourself around the board. You know where to come to and you know what to do in order to be able to do that. So that's what we're doing you don't go to the rules, because that's setting up rules that are not there. It's not something that you want to customize to do. Okay. So you don't need it really. And we go back to the process again. The next one we want to pick is the bug. Okay, so again, in the bug, there's nothing we do when it comes to the field in the bug. All the details are what needs to be there and everything. So we're not going to be putting anything here. Okay, but where we can put, bear with me, I quickly want to check something on the task. I think Azure DevOps have okay, oh no, it's there. That's fine. Okay, so we go into the bugs, into the bug work item, and what we want to customize is the state. So in the bug, what you have is you have the new, you have the approved, because those are the columns that we have. So, but we want to do some customization here. And the state we want to create is, so for bugs, items that QA normally raises it, and then they put it, once they raise a bug, oh, I found this defect, they're going to raise a bug and all that. Okay, so once they raise the bug, we want a state where when the bug goes to the developers column, yeah, we want it to say active. Okay, so I'm going to put active here, and it's going to be when it's in progress, but we want to change the color. So color for bugs normally is red, isn't it? So we want to change, instead of blue, we want to change it into red, just to have a difference. And then we want to create that. Okay. And then once the bug we're going to create another state. And that state, we're going to call it resolved. Yeah. And it's still going to be under the category state. Okay, so not all teams do this, but a lot of teams do this just to help out. So for resolve, we want to pick an amber color. So we pick the orange color. And when we get on the board, you will see what we've done here, how it will reflect on the board. Okay. And then we want to put that there. And then just one more. We want to, which normally we don't have to, but let's just, because once the bug, okay, let me not create this one, because once it has been retested, it's just closed and then taken to the right place. So we've done all the customization we want to do with the work items that we'll be working with. Okay. So normally the epics, we don't need to do much customization on the epics and the features because they stay in the backlog. But what mainly we'll be working on as a team is the product backlog item, which is the user story, the task that you're going to create on your sprint board, and then the bugs that the QAs might need to raise when they find a defect. So these are all the QAs work, that their test cases, their test plan. We're not going to customize all those ones. We're going to leave them like that. So having done this now, let's go back to our projects and then go back on our board, and you will see why we needed to do all these that we came here to do. Okay, so I'm just, sorry. I needed to click on the project to really. Okay, so we're going back to the board now to do that customization that I wanted to do earlier on. Okay, so remember, it's still for 4 of them. So if I click on the cog and I come to board column here and I click on add new, remember this new is always there. That is the first column and that's the backlog. So it's new, but some team members put backlog, they change the name to backlog, but by default is new, and a lot of people just leave it as that. So that's the backlog where most of the work that the BAs are going to work on is going to be picked from. Okay, so here we have the new column, and then it's going to be, the first one is in BA. Remember the setting that we did earlier. I'm just going to make that small letter. Okay, and like I said, we want to increase the work in progress limit to 15. We're not going to split this particular column into 2. And then bugs don't come in here because the BAs don't work on bugs. They don't create bugs. They don't work on bugs and all that. So we're just going to leave that as in new. Okay. For the product backlog item, what we've gone to the back to do is this. So we want the states to change into in BA when the work item is in that column. Okay, so we've created that. You don't need to save every time you do that. So we're going to finish all the columns we want to create before we save. So I'm going to click on a new one. And then this one will be BA done. We want to create a BA done column. Again, let's just make this 15. We're not splitting it. Like I said, BAs don't work on bugs, so I'm just going to leave that as new. And then it has not been approved yet, so we want to make it BA done. Okay, so the BA done, you can move it across. So after the new column, what you have is in BA, and then you have the BA done. Okay, so and then you need to create another column for the. So then this one I'm going to create is for who? Let's do it together. Yeah, you've forgotten the one we just did. So it's going to be in dev. Yep. And then we can just increase that to 10. And then when bugs are here, we want them to be no, not bugs really. So in dev, we're working on when bugs are in dev, we want them to be active. So those are part of the customization we remember that we did. And then when product backlog item user stories are in dev, we want them to be in dev. We want them to show in dev. Okay, so we're creating another one, which would be dev done. Let's be a bit more faster here. If I'm too fast for you, just let me know. I just didn't want to. So in dev done, the bug is going to be resolved. What that it means is it was active when it was in dev. I'm working on it. I've resolved it now. Okay, that's what that means. But when user stories are there, we want it to show dev done. Okay. Let's create the next one, which is in QA. We want a column for that again. Let's make this 10. We're not going to split it. So when bugs are in QA, we still want it to be resolved because they're testing it. And then work items in there would be in QA. The last one, not the last one really, but then we want QA done. Make this 10. Doubt if we'll have a 10 there, but at least and then here it will still be resolved, because the thing is the once the bug is resolved, once the QA has retested it, they're going to close it. They're going to take it to done. Okay, but we just leave it as resolved, and then the user stories in there would be in QA done. Okay, and then we want a column for in UAT. So it's not all teams that customize their boards to be like this. Like I said, is what suits the team, what works with the team. So the BAs don't retest the bugs. It won't even go into their column. So once QA has finished testing, if the bug has been fixed and everything is fine, they just close the bug. Okay, but the user story definitely will go into UAT because the BAs need to run the user acceptance testing on it. Just going to make this 10 for the intuitive purpose. And then, like I said, bugs don't go to them to retest, but the user stories will go to UAT done. So all our board are created. I just need to move things to where they ought to be. So I'm going to move this to the, I need you to go to the left. This is the one that comes after. Initially, you can drag it, but Azure DevOps have done a bit of upgrading to their system. So you can just click on the ellipses and move it until it gets next to, to new. Okay, so that's what comes after new. I can actually move this to the right also, rather than going all the way back there. Can keep moving all these ones to the right. Move it to the right. And then I'll bring the other one back. The dragging one would have been good. Let me see now. We've not done the dragging thing again. The dragging one would have been good because all I would have done is just drag it on. But like I said, they've upgraded their system, and this makes it a bit cumbersome, to be honest with you. But each organization with their own okay, so that's closer now to, so the one I need to take to the left is, let me just quickly do this so that our board would follow the right workflow. Okay, so in BA done. So once BA is done, they need the product owner to come and approve the stories that they've written. So that's the next one that comes after BA done. So we're just using our board to follow up, have a workflow. Okay, so in BA done, approved. After approve, we have committed. After it has been approved is when we commit to it. Up to the left. This. And I think that's coming up to approach now. No, they still use it done. Okay, so yeah, we have the right flow there. So once it's committed, the first person that picks the work item to work on is the developer. So in-dev comes after committed, and dev done comes after that. In-dev means is active, is in progress for the developer. And then after dev done, you have the in QA, when QA are working on it. And then once QA is finished, they put it in QA done. And then you have in UAT before UAT done. And then you have done, which is the last column. So once we've had all this done, okay, I can as well just go to the card field first, but I want you to see the flow on the board before we do that. So from 4 columns, we've been able to create more columns, as you can see. So these are some of the customization you do on your board. But before I start creating an example, I just want to quickly go and also ensure that we've customized our card, which is our work item, with what we want it to have. So for the card also, I'm just going to come on that field here. Okay, you can see that that's for the bug, and this one is for the backlog item. So if we do the bug one first, there are some things that have come that will be on it by default. Okay, so one of it is it will show the assigned to who that bug has been assigned to. It will show the ID, which we will see later on. It will show the tags. I want it to show empty field also. So I'm just going to click this one to be on. So what that means is any field I've added, even if there's nothing on it, I want it to show it. It's going to show the effort. And then I just want to add more, more fields to that. So I'm just going to, and then it's going to show the state. So this is state. And then I can add more field also onto it. So let me just open just some few ones. And then I would change all these activated by that you see into them into other things. So more field that we've added, we want it to show the because this is a bug, we want it to be able to show us the let me see, what do we want? Let me just click on the drop down. So we want it to show the area path. We want to here. Show the area path. We want it to show the iteration path. So which sprint was this worked on? We want it to show that. We want it to show the. So from the drop down is where you pick what you want to see on the work item, which later on you will see. We want to see who created the bug, especially if you have more than, definitely you have more than one keyword in the same. So you want to know not the created date, but who created it. We want to see that. Also, have we used all? No. Okay, so and then also we want to see the we want to see the severity. How critical is that bug? We want to see that also. Let me see, is there anything else that we can put on? So for this one, we can say we want to see the bot column because we didn't set our bug with the bot column, so we can do that. Let's just save those few ones. Okay, sorry, I didn't say you should show the effort, so I'm gonna go back there and field for bugs. I want you to show the bugs don't have effort really because their effort has been created with is being calculated with the work item. So we just leave that aspect out. So I'm going to go to the backlog, product backlog item. So for this one also, I want you to show me the empty field, and then we're going to add just some few more to it also, just like we did with the bugs. And then we want the area path. We want to see the iteration path. We want to see the parent. So, it's linked to the epic and the feature. So we want to know the feature that this particular story is linked to. So I'm going to pick the parent here. Okay, so let me just go by we want to see who created it, also created by. And then created by, I want to see the effort is on it already. The parents, like I said, the priority will be there already. We can pick the priority also. This priority. And then we also want it to tell us the kind of work item it is. So we're going to pick work item. So the bug one, let me quickly go back to it because we want it to show us, let me just add one more field to show us who resolved it. So in a situation where you have more than one, definitely you will have in the workforce, you'll have more than one developer. Your developers are going to be more than your QAs. Okay, so we want to just pick resolved by, not the resolved date, but resolved by. Okay, and then let's save that. So just to show us all the customization that we have done this night, quickly, I'm going to create just one of each of them. So for product backlog, I'm just going to name this one story 1. Okay, let's just leave that there, story 1, and it's going to sit in the new column. Now, all those fields that I created in the setting now, those are the things that you can see showing here. The area path, remember our area path is our project. You can see that there. The iteration is still showing the project, our area path, because we are not in sprint yet. So if we're in sprint and this story has been moved into sprint, you would be able to see the sprint 1 there. Because I was the one that created it, you can see that it's showing that I created it. So I might create it, but I'm not the one to work on it. Okay. Priority, you can see is picking priority 2 by default. And then work item, what type of work item is it? It's showing you that there is a product backlog item. So if I decide that, okay, I want Laomi to work on this as a BA, okay, I put Laomi's name there. You can see that that's you being able to assign. So I've been able to assign that to Laomi to work on. Now let's move it on and see what happens. So if I move this from here, into in BA. Remember, when it was in here, it was showing us what on the state new. But when it got into this column, it's showing in BA. That means the BAs are working on it. And the customization we did on project setting is what we've been able to see here to say that we want to start seeing the state. So if I move it into BA done, you can see the state will change. If we didn't do that, it should just be showing you new as you're going. And then when it's in the approved column, this is what you see also approved there. When it is in the committed column, the gray turned to blue because that means it's active. Some team, when it's in, they want this to show active rather than be showing the board as it goes along. Like I said, it depends on what your team wants and what you've agreed in your team chat and your ways of working. So if I move it into in-dev, you can see it's changing to in-dev. And once it's in in-dev, allow me as the BA is no longer the one working on it. So I will change that to Abimbola, who is the developer. So Abimbola is saying, I'm the one working on it. That's why you see my name. So if anybody has any query on this particular story, they know who to talk to. Okay. And then once it's done, is in dev done, the QAs are also monitoring the board. So once it's in dev done, the QAs know, oh, the developer has finished what they're doing on it. So the QA picks it up, put it in QA column, and then change it from Abimbola's name to their own name. So let's assume that Lady Pat is the one working on this. So if she's the tester, she'll change it to her name. Okay. And then once she finished what she's doing on it, she moves it to QA done. You can see that QA done. Once she's done what she needs to do, it goes into not done yet. It goes into in UAT. Once it's in UAT, allow me picks it up again as the BA that worked on it, and then carry out the user tests on it. And once she's done, she'll put it in UAT done. Now, allow me can finish the UAT on it and just take it to done. I'll tell you why I always create in UAT and UAT done. There's every possibility that there are some, because the task will be attached to it. So as a Scrum Master, I'm seeing this in UAT done. So that means everybody has done what they need to do. But before I take this to the done column, what I want to check is, are all the tasks on it closed? So if a task has been created on this and is not closed, it will show the task and it will be showing maybe 0 over, depending on the number of tasks that is on it. And I'm coming to stand up and I'm saying, okay, so this story is done, because your BA is not checking that. Your BA is not checking, oh, have they closed their task on it? Your BA is just coming to carry out their user acceptance test and all that. But I need to know that it's following the process. Has everything truly been done on it? Is it following a definition of done? Are all the tasks on it closed and all that? If all that is done, or if it's not done, I check and they said, oh, sorry, I just forgot to close it. I've done it. And then I can take it to done. Because believe you me, the QA can do the manual test, forget that there's meant to be an automation test on it, and they put it in QA done. When the BA is doing the UAT, they won't pick automation that has not been done on that story. So if I notice a task that has to do with automation on it, and it's not closed, and I'm checking with the QA, and the QA said, oh yeah, we've not done automation on it, we'll carry it as maybe tech debt and all that, they need to create a story for automation on this particular story so that they don't forget. So that's part of why, as a Scrum Master, you need to check that everything has been done on it during stand-up. At times, if this was put here after stand-up and all that, you can reach out to whosoever task has not been closed on it just to check before you take it to done. Because once it is in done, what you're saying is this is done. And once it's in done, you want to remove the name of allow me from it, because what you're saying is everybody has finished what they need to do on this. So, okay, let me open it up and remove her name. So once that has been removed, I can save and close it. And it says unassigned. So you're unassigning, you're removing everybody that they finished what they need to do. Now, let me open the story up. Once this story is unassigned, why we created all these rows here, if peradventure for one reason or the other, we need to query one thing or the other. Remember, we've unassigned it. Yeah. And I want to query maybe something I noticed that maybe the QA should have done and all that and wasn't done, or I just want a question, let me put it that way, from the developer that worked on it or from the QA that tested it and all that. We've unassigned everybody from it. But because we have the names here, yeah, you're able to open it up and say, oh, the developer I want to talk to is this person, or the QA I need to talk to is this person. If the DA works on it, you have more than one DA in the same, oh, the DA that I need to talk to is this person. And that's why we have all these roles listed in here. So like as we've picked, the BA that worked on it was Allow Me. The developer that worked on it was Abimbolu. The QA that worked on it was Lady Pat. There was no DA, but let's assume there is a DA. Let's just pick one name here. So DA that worked on it was Damsala. Yeah, you'll have all their names recorded there, saved and closed. So if there's any questions and all that to anyone there and is unassigned already because everything has been completed, you're able to open it and then see who you needed to reach out to. that's why we've added all those fields, different fields that we've added into it. Okay, so that's for the user story. So I'm just going to go and create one item for bug so that we can take that across also, and we can see some of the so I'm going to call this one defect one and save it. Okay, so again, who has this been assigned to when it was created? It's the developer, who is Abimbola. Okay, and then you're looking at the severity. Is it critical? You have to put it at 1. Is it high? You have to, by default, it comes from 3, but you don't leave it at 3 because you can see 3 and said, oh, it's not high priority. But when you say critical, then you're making it more. And remember, I talked about who created it. So whosoever is the keyword that is raising that bug, the name is there. Okay, so if Abimbola has any questions to ask and all that, she knows who created it, and she's be able to ask that question to say, oh, I can see the defects you're talking about and everything, and then they're able to discuss together. So that's why we have some of this column at times, some of these fields showing on the card or the work item, so that people know who to relate to. Okay, because like we said, we're collaborating, so we need all those informations to be there so that people can work better. So like I said, the BAs don't have anything to do with work. They don't, it's not a requirement, it's a defect to the requirements they've written. So they don't work on it at all. It doesn't even come here at all. It can go to approve if we want to know if the product owner wants us to work on some bugs that are not critical, because we would have dealt with the critical ones during the sprint. So there are some that are maybe a medium, and we want to think about, oh, can we include this in the new sprint we're going into? We leave it at approved. We have what we call bug triage on them to refine them. No one needs to be done and all that. So it will stay in the approved column because it's part of what we want to take in. But remember what I said, we don't estimate it because it's part of an estimation that has been done already. So if we're committing to it, we move it into there, and you can see it's changed to committed. Okay, so let's move it on. So this is a bug that Abimbola has to work on as a developer. She moves it into in dev. It's not going to show in dev because what we've customized it to show is that it is active. And the active, we're using red for it because it's a bug. Okay. You can use any color, but we just decide to use red because red is significant with bugs. And then once Abimbola has fixed the bug, she puts it there, she's saying resolved. So what she's telling the QA is, I have resolved, the issue that you have with this. And then the QAs are picking it up to test, they're still leaving it as the result. And once they are done with it, like I said, they don't put it in QA done because UAT will not be done against this bug. The BAs don't carry out UAT to a bug. The bug is between the developer and the QA to resolve. So once the QA retests that defect and everything is fine, they take it from their in QA straight to done. Okay, so there's also nothing on it that you need to check as a Scrum Master. Okay, so that is the workflow of a bug on your board column. So that's part of how your board is you're able to use your board, to carry out your collaboration and also to show how your work progress flows, and it helps you as a Scrum Master to be able to track what is being done. So another board is the sprint, which right now I'm not able to show you how the work flows on it, but once your sprint starts, your Scrum Masters will be coached by the mentors, and they will be able to coach you, because we want the Scrum Masters to have that ability to be able to coach you as a team on what you need to do. So they will be coached, and then they'll be able to coach the team to say, this is what we do on the sprints. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to leave that. And another thing you need to set definitely is the estimation. So for the estimation also, okay, so for sprint estimation and retrospective is something that would be done with the Scrum Masters mainly. So if the timetable is fixed for them to be coached or workshop to be done on that, if anybody is free from their team members, they're able to put them, because if I create it now, it's not going to show anything because we don't have anything on the approved column yet. Okay, so tonight is all about just setting up our board, not going into all those. So one other thing, two things really that I just want to show us is the wiki page. Your wiki page is like a library for the team. So your wiki page is where you keep all the information for your team members, the project information, the project and your roles and responsibilities, your ways of working and all that is kept on your wiki page. So your team members can go there and get information. New team members can go there and get information. And how you create that is you click on create project wiki that you have here. And that brings up this, and then you're just going to give it a name. So for this one, I'm just going to name it a project name, so which would be 2025 June internship. So I'll call it, let me call it library, or yeah, you can call it, so yeah, not that. You can call it library, you can call it project information. Okay, let's use that, that's better. Project information. Okay, so if I save that and close it, at the top there, that is the home. So if you want to create sub page under this one, all I do is if I click on the ellipses here, I can see add sub page. I want pages to come under that. So if I click that, this can be project overview that gives information, and then I'm able to put information like project vision. Okay, whatever the project vision is, I can do there. You're able to type in there, and then you can do your project goal. Okay, can put that there also, and then underneath it you type, and then you save it, and then you close it. So you can see that is coming as a page under the main board. And then if you want to create another one, remember, don't create it against the sub page. So you're creating a sub page under the main one. And this one can be teams roles. You can make it roles and responsibility. You can make it just roles. So under this one, you want to list the team members and their roles. So you can go to team members and roles. Okay. So under here, you will have, let me say Moji. And then I just put SM in front of it. I can have, Uzo as the, actually, let me put Uzo first as the PO. Can add your stakeholders there so that people know who they are. People. And then Mike comes next, and then I can do who is our BA now? Let me just put them so okay. We used allow me. So allow me is the BA. I'll put that there. Abimbola is the dev. Rita. Actually, on our board, I said DG. Because DG is the QA. And then the part is the, so is another QA. And then Damisola is a DA. You know, you're able to put all of that there, okay? And then let's save that and close that. And then you can have your another sub one that says Teams ways of working. Okay, here you want to put meeting schedule and to list your meeting schedules, your sprint planning when you have your sprint planning, when you have your stand-ups and all that, those part of your ways of working. You want to put things like your development process. Do we have a development process? Or development workflow, just what we have on our board and all that. You can have your work process if you have that. The ways of working that you agree as a team. You just want to list those ones there also. Yeah. And then you save and you close. So if there's any other document also you can also put that there. If you want to put our sprint reports, every time we create a sprint report, we want to put it there. We can create a page for it. So it's more like a library for your team. And that's how you just create your sub pages as you go along, to add under there and everything. So that's your let me just put it back here. That's your wiki page. So quickly also we want to go on the dashboard. So for the dashboard again is another thing that your mentors will have to take you through, because right now we don't have a sprint. So any widget that I put on the board now won't have anything on it, because the widget picks real-time information data from your board, and then that's what you put here. But for you to create your board, as you can see, it says the dashboard doesn't have a widget yet. So there's a dashboard but doesn't have a widget yet. Remember what we said when we were doing our customization? We enabled to be able to create a dashboard. You can see that here. We enabled to be able to edit a dashboard. That's there. The only one you won't see is to delete the board, because we didn't put it there, because you don't want somebody to mistakenly click on it and delete it. Okay, so like I said, there's really no need me adding a widget, but if you need to add a widget, I'll just show you what it shows you. So if you click on create or add a widget, you have all these are the widgets that you want to put: your burn down chart, your velocity chart, your sprint goal widget, and all that. They are all listed here that you want to put there. Even the testers are able to put their the test results. I think also you're able to put your where is it now? The release. Bear with me. Yeah, your release pipeline overview. You're also able to put it there and all that. So that's a board that provides you with real-time metrics based on the data that is on your board, or that is in any of these artifacts that you have here. Okay, so I'm just going to do done editing. I've not put anything there, so it's not going to put anything there. But like I said, it might be one of the workshops we'll do together. All your mentors will be able to help you set up your dashboard. And I think that's us really. So yeah, I think that's all really for tonight. Questions, please. I think I have about 4 charts there. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. So I'm not sure if anybody has any question that has to do with the board before I stop sharing. Does anybody have any questions? Anyone? Please just unmute and ask your questions.
Not a question, just a load of information at a go. I got to time my.
Sorry?
As I say, load of information at a go.
I know. I know. I know. There is no time I run this session that people are not as quiet as you are now. Yeah, because it's a lot of information to take in just once and all that. But that's why we recorded. So it's a thing where you go back to the recording, you play it, you watch it, and then you know what to do. So for the Scrum Masters, I would say definitely if you are more than one or two in your team, you have to collaborate together. So this is not one Scrum Master domain. It's you all coming together to do it together because it's just one board per team. So you're not going to have all the Scrum Masters creating board for the same project. It's just one board. So you all have to come together with one person sharing their screen and doing it so you can decide, okay, for all of us to have an experience, you create up to here and then I take over to create. So right now with your own personal details, there's no way you can create anything. But once you've all settled down very well in your team and all that, definitely Naomi and Damisola will organize another session where you would create your board, you would be given the permission to do it, the account, the admin account to do that, but that's for another time for just solely the Scrum Masters alone. But definitely, I do understand that there's a lot of information to take in. So please, once the video has been posted, just kind of go through it again at your own time and pace. But I would say do it as soon as ish. So I have a question or two questions really. It is why is the need to move the project from Scrum to the inherited process? I think I explained that. So please do go into the video to get that. But like I said earlier on, the Scrum process is the main process. So if you don't move it, you saw all the customization we did. Imagine if we've done all that and it goes on that main Scrum process. So every team that creates their project board will have the same thing we've customized this night going on their project. And you don't want that because whatever customization we've done is just solely for your own project board. It doesn't have to affect any other projects. And that's why we chose the inherited process. So for Overcomer, I hope that's clear. Okay, so there is another question from Jim Namso. So I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Okay, so it says, what do the numbers mean? Work in progress limit. Okay, so what we're trying to do is to limit the number of work items that stays on each column. That is what work in progress means. So each column is a progress, like in BA, in this, in that is in progress. So we just didn't want to say in progress for BA. That would be too long. Yeah. That was why we said in BA. So we wanted to limit the number of work items that goes into that column, and that is what work in progress. So week actually means work in progress. So we don't want to, it comes by default with 5, but you might have a situation where we have about 10 or 15 work items. It's not as if when those 15 work items is in that column, it's going to crash. But it would alert it with a red number. That number will be red. It's like saying 15 is carrying, 5 is carrying 15. It's that's two. And that was why we had to change those numbers. So by default, it comes by 5, 5, 5, 5. And then we just increase it to 20 just to be on the safe side. I said that you don't start seeing those red numbers and all that on your board and wondering what is going on. So I hope that is clear. Quickly, before I go to the next question in the chat, I'll just quickly come to you, Emilia.
Hi.
And then I'll come to you, Gabriel.
Hi, Moji. I just wanted to know how soon will this video be available to us, please? The
I can't hear
recorded.
you clearly. You're faint.
Pardon?
Okay, so you're more clearer now. I can hear you clearly now.
All right. So how soon will this recorded video be made available to us? Is it today, tonight?
I will leave Damisola to answer that.
All right. Thank you.
Damisola. Because I believe.
Hi.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm here. Within the next 24 hours, that's the maximum time that we usually give. So before the end of tomorrow, should be available.
All right. Damisola.
So any of the four main processes that you have there, basic, agile, CMMI, and Scrum, you can create an inherited process. It's still the same thing. You don't want to start customizing the main four processes that Azure has by default. And you also wanted to know Azure doesn't have drop-down menu for projects. Instead of working out. Okay, so I'm not getting that question. You said Azure doesn't have. If you can unmute, please unmute and provide clarity to your question, Aditola. Oh, I don't know if anybody understands what that question is asking. It says Azure doesn't have drop-down menu for projects. Instead of working out the inherited process. Okay, cool. All right. Thanks for that. I want to believe your hands that raised, Gabriel, is legacy hands, or do you still have another question? Okay, thank you. All right, in the absence of any other questions, thank you so much, everybody, for your patience. I know we've overshot by 31 minutes, but I hope it's a productive one for you and a valuable one. Don't I know it's just like was it Gabriel that said it, that I don't know who said it, that is a lot to take in at a go. Believe you me, it is. And you might have been looking at me and saying, oh, how did Muji know this and all that and everything? I was in your shoe once and I was like, wow, how am I going to get all this and everything? Is, so much information and all that. But before you know it, by the time you're going through your first, second, your hiccups and your bumps can be either your first sprint or there about the second sprint. But once you keep using your body more and everything, you find that you're getting used to it more and you're able to walk through it more. Okay, so don't feel so overwhelmed. New things always look like that, but by the time you're practicing and you're using it more constantly and all that, you get yourself more comfortable with it and more relaxed with it. And you'll have your buddies and your mentors to work with you. Okay, so anywhere where you have a kind of a blocker and all that, they will help you to resolve things or put you through how to resolve things. So, because we're not here to spoon feed you, but just to guide you through what you need to do. That's okay. All right, Damisola, I hand over back